We have with us Professor Jayshankar Shaw, also known as Dr. Shaw, eminent, renowned, reputable, and very well liked lecturer who has schooled many students throughout his life. He has authored 12 books and 200 articles. I think that's just on the low side. Many seminars, he's attended many conferences, presented many papers, and he has been a leading lecturer in the field of comparative philosophy and the merger of Indian philosophy with that. Looking at logic and metaphysics. Dr. Shaw will tell us more about that. Dr. Shaw, would you like to tell us more about that?
Thank you so much for organizing this session, and thank you for helping us to organize this session also. And obviously, thanks to my daughter who brought me here and for organizing my talk. Now, my philosophy or philosophical quest goes back to my childhood. I was in a private, not private, but public school since 1946 or 47, 46 I think. And in 47, India was divided, and before that there was a riot, and I remember the riot, and for some time we were shifted to another place for 2 months, and my elder brothers would be father-in-law was a victim to that riot also. So I remember a lot of things from 45 onwards. And great famine of Bengal was there. Mm-hmm. I remember once a lady knocked our door around 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening and asked for rice water. Nobody will give rice. And she told us that she has not eaten anything for 3 days. So that touched my heart from the beginning, how to solve these existential problems also.
And what were they? What were they, if you could just elaborate on that?
Yes. And thereby I developed at the end concept of harmony, how to live together and how to solve some global problems of life. I will end with the global problems of life or our existence at the end of my talk.
Okay.
And 48, I heard the lecture of one of my teachers who came from East Pakistan. It was called East Pakistan, current Bangladesh. And he was the headmaster, and he had satsang. Nearly 2,000 people were enrolled in that satsang. And he came with only 2 boxes of books. And he gave a lecture on Swami Vivekananda in 48, I remember. And that enlightened me like anything. Still, that lecture rings in my ear.
Must have been wonderful to be
So,
there at that time.
that's right.
Yes.
So, he was a very well-learned person, well-versed in traditional literature. He was also a poet. And I used to read Bhagavad Gita with him. He used to come to my home also, and I used to go to his home frequently. He was living as a refugee in a mud house. That influenced me very well throughout my life. Then I had some questions coming from his lecture as well as from Swami Vivekananda. What is ultimate reality? What is the meaning of life? What are the goals of life? Is there any God or not? Is there any Brahman or not? And as you know, there are different views. Some people are skeptics. They do not believe in these. Some people are atheists. They do not believe in God, and so on. So I had some questions, like questions of mathematics, like number, questions of time, space, life, existential problems, and so on.
So at that stage, were you, which camp were you in? Were you a believer or just a questioner?
I was a questioner. And I organized also in this high school some events to celebrate the life of great saints, great thinkers. I remember one I organized while I was in the high school, Sri Aurobindo's celebration of his birthday. And I read a book also on Sri Aurobindo.
Well,
He was known as freedom fighter in the past, but then he became a saint and he became a great philosopher.
So this was all happening in Calcutta.
That's right.
But
All these happening in Calcutta.
You were very fortunate to be born in Calcutta.
That's right.
Because all the saints and sages and great minds, Swami Prabhupada, Aurobindo, Swami Vivekananda, all this, they come from that part.
That's right.
And that was...
And I was also a speaker, not only organizer, but also a speaker. I remember when we celebrated the birthday of Rabindranath Tagore, I spoke also.
Of course, can't forget Rabindranath.
In the high school. So we organized and I spoke also on those saints and literary person or great scholars like Swami Vivekananda. We used to celebrate his birthday. And I used to visit his mott also,
Balloon March.
balloon mott, with my teacher. Once I remember we walked nearly 9 or 7 kilometers and we are talking. So that influenced my life very well. Then I passed high school. In those days it was called not matric exam. Before that it was matric exam, high school. High school exam, 10 years, and then I was admitted to Presidency College for intermediate. And intermediate, we had several subjects, including logic, so I took logic also. Because logic is the background for studying philosophy. You cannot study philosophy unless you have logic. So I remember 1955.
When you were studying logic and studying philosophy, or getting on to study philosophy, was there any kind of subject called Indian philosophy or
No,
anything like that?
it was nothing like Indian. It was introduced by British and it was continuing the British curriculum.
I see.
So it was Western logic, inductive and deductive logic, and the curriculum was set by British in those days and it was continuing. So I thought after independence we'll revive our culture, but it did not happen. Later on it happened partially. So then after intermediate I had BA honors in philosophy. And there were eight papers, I think, if I remember right, there were 8 papers, as well as Sanskrit, English and Bengali. 3 languages. One has to study 3 languages in those days.
And I see from your bio data here that you also had to learn German and
That's
French.
right. That's right.
Great mind.
Now, so after passing my bachelor's degree, I was admitted to MA and I stood first in the first class at the MA exam. And immediately I got a job. I was standing in front of my college. Somebody, teacher Shamapada Sen's son was traveling by tram and he got off and told me that there is a vacancy at his college. That was government college.
So there was a fork in your life.
Yes. So immediately I took that job, and before that I had a very hard life because my father passed away in 49. So hard life, very hard.
How old were you?
I was 9 or 10 years old.
Right.
So it was a very hard life, and then I took up some tuition also. Tuition also just for my survival. And once I got a job, then I never had tuition, private tuition. Although I was approached, but I did not take it.
So how did you get to pioneering what you pioneered?
Now, then after 6 months, I taught at a government college. It was called Central Calcutta College, Government College. Later on, it was renamed as Maulana Azad College. And then after 6 months, I got a job at Jadavpur University. I was very happy to have that job at a young age. My age was around 22. I was the youngest teacher of Jadavpur University. Jadavpur University started long time ago. It was a national college, long time ago. And then after independence, it had the status of university.
Right. So I think our listeners would be really interested to know about the philosophy, how you got to that,
Yeah.
and
Now-
and the pioneering what you've done
Okay.
in New Zealand, because it's very important. People talk about philosophy,
That's
but
right.
it's we don't really understand. We understand philosophy in terms of the Western concept of philosophy,
That's right.
but we don't understand how that has the Indian Vedantic kind of approach
Vedantic.
has any relationship with that, and it's really, and you have broken that ice, so to speak.
Now,
Please tell us about
yes.
that.
Now I taught 5 years at Jadavpur University, mainly Western philosophy, and only one course I offered on Indian philosophy. Only one course.
And what was that
And-
philosophy? What were you teaching?
I think history of Indian philosophy.
Okay.
History.
And what was Indian philosophy?
Indian philosophy, Nyaya philosophy, Vedanta philosophy, and Shankar and Yoga philosophy I was
Shankaracharya.
teaching.
The Shankaracharya.
Shankar Yoga and Vedanta philosophy,
Okay.
and the Nyaya philosophy.
So what the Patanjali Yoga Sutras was part of that? No.
It was, in general course, it was a history of philosophy, in the history of Indian philosophy. So we had some set text, I was teaching that one. But at that time also I used to run review sessions on Saturday or Sunday, or after the class, review sessions, so that students can learn more about it and they can interact with their questions. Then I was learning also German at that time. And I had 2-3 certificates in German. And then I applied for scholarships in America. And I got a very good fellowship from Rice University, Houston, Texas. Rice University was called the Harvard of the South at that time. Then the question is how to go there. So I applied for Fulbright travel grant and I got it. Then at Rice University, my topic for dissertation was on philosophical logic, the concept of existence in logic. So I am very grateful that I learned logic from Professor Shiv Jivan Bhattacharya, whom I brought to New Zealand also for 3 months. He stayed with me and we used to discuss philosophy, Western philosophy, as well as Indian. Then when I went to Rice University, I had courses in logic as well as in contemporary Western philosophy. They have never heard of Indian philosophy. They think that Indian philosophy is not distinct from religion. So
that was the tension in the West.
That's right.
When they were exposed to Vedanta,
That's
they were
right.
exposed to all the other scriptures, where metaphysical
That's right.
terminology was used.
Yes.
How do you marry that with something that is Western philosophy?
So I had that aim that after learning Western philosophy and logic, especially philosophical logic, I'll focus on Indian philosophy.
But Dr. Shaw, tell me, what was the Western thought process? How did they view it? Did they view it just like a myth?
That's right, because later on I realized that the word philosophy in Indian context does not capture the meaning of Indian philosophy, because philosophy in the West is philo plus sophia, learning wisdom, knowledge of wisdom, love of wisdom.
Love of wisdom.
Wisdom. Now, in the context of Indian philosophy, there are three terms. One is called Moksha Shastra, science of liberation. How to conquer three types of suffering. If you have body, then you suffer. Natural disasters, you suffer. And adi, adhatmik, suffering due to some questions, due to mental questions, due to spiritual questions. What is afterlife? Is there any afterlife? And how to conquer our anger, our suffering, mental suffering, existential suffering, called angst in existential philosophy.
Wouldn't it be amazing if we could get some command on our anger, on our
That's right.
emotions, on our temperament?
That's right.
That would be just absolutely amazing. But the Indian, I'll call it Indian philosophy, but I don't think it's philosophy as such, it's Dharma. The Indian philosophy is more to do with
alleviating suffering.
But it's also
different types of suffering.
But it's also to do with afterlife.
Afterlife, and there is another term, anikshiki, which is 3,000 years old. It is called lamp of all the sciences. So any question of science comes under philosophy. For example, what is time? What is space? What is life? Origin of life? And what is matter?
Yes.
All the questions of fundamental questions of science will come under philosophy. What is number also?
But just to elaborate a little bit on that.
That's right.
That term philosophy is really I think it's a misnomer to call it Indian philosophy.
Yes.
I think it's more to do with Vedic science of philosophy.
That's right.
So if you term it as Vedic science of philosophy, it's and if you look at science today, there's that parallel relationship happening now that the scientists now are finding black hole, all those kind of new concepts.
That's
and
right.
when you look at the ancient scriptures that are talking about all these things.
That's right.
And it's like, wow, did they know about all this before? And that's quite and you have already, through your work in philosophy, ensured that there is recognition of that.
That's right.
Now tell us how that came about.
Now, third term for philosophy is, first one is Muksha Shastra. Second one is Anikshiki, and third one is Darshana. You realize some goal in your life and you promote that goal. That means it deals with some sort of realization of some truths.
So it's subjective and not objective.
No, truth is objective in the sense.
I mean the realization.
Realization. That's right.
So you can't be realizing something that is not personal.
That's right. You realize the value of Vedanta philosophy and you promote it. Vedanta teaches oneness, that we are all one.
And the divinity of the...
That's right. And everybody is divine. Everybody is divine and divinity is present in everybody, and our job is to promote that divinity, to make it realize. It is potentially divine, but how to actualize it?
The manifestation.
Manifestation of divinity. So, similarly, there is a misleading expression for the concept of Dharma in Indian philosophy. Dharma cannot be translated as religion in the Western sense.
There's no such word, is there?
Yes. Dharma also cannot be translated as ethics in the Western sense. Because religion in Western connotation presupposes some sort of conflict with reason or dogma. Indian concept of Dharma is not a dogma. It is like scientific truth.
But Dr. Shaw, don't you think it's very ironic? Very, I find this very ironic that the West have often claimed that the Indian rituals is all dogma.
That's right.
It's ironic, isn't it? Because when you really look at the science behind it all,
that's right.
It is pure science. It has nothing related to dogma. It's just a pathway. To reach.
It is just the entry point.
But that it's very unfortunate that understanding is not there generally.
That's right. Total misunderstanding of Indian concepts. Because we translate by using Western term. And I have written an article also on these topics, that key words are misleading. The translation of key words of Indian philosophy and logic are totally misleading.
Because embedded in those terminologies,
that's right,
it's corrupted. And it cannot therefore translate
that's right.
into something that is so pure and different.
So Dharma cannot be translated as religion or ethics, because religion presupposes some sort of conflict with science and reason. But Dharma does not have conflict with science or reason. It is as rational as it could be. And it is a scientific truth what will alleviate our suffering. Even medical science was part of philosophy in those days, 3,000 or 4,000 years ago.
Ayurveda?
That's right.
Yes, okay.
Sushrita. Medical science was part of it. And regarding the age of Indian philosophy, there is misleading remarks. Panini, the great linguistic philosopher, born roughly 3,000 years ago, he wrote on sticks. His name is Danda. And he wrote 5,000 aphorisms. Somehow it has been preserved.
Is that the leaves? The leaves that have been stored?
No, on the stick.
On the stick.
On the stick.
Where is that stored now?
Somehow it has been reserved and people commented on it. There is a big, commentary of Bachashpati Mishra, not some other philosophers on it. Many people have commented. And what he did, he tried to find out the universals of language. What Chomsky is doing today at MIT. Some structure of language which is common to all the languages. And he did 3,000 years ago, and Chomsky has mentioned it. But it has not been
seen the light of day. Well, generally.
Yes. So, first question, I finished my doctorate in 2 years. And it was a great event. Nobody has done. People take 3, 4, 5 years. Then I told my supervisor as well as head of the department that I finished it. Then they said, scholarship is for 3 years. So what to do? So they asked me to look for a job in America. So I applied for a job and I got 3 jobs. And I accepted from the University of Alabama. And there also they asked the question whether Indians got any philosophy distinct from religion. And they offered me a permanent job because students were very much impressed with my teaching, and they went to the president of the university, and a head of the department offered a permanent job there. And he was so kind enough to approach the senators and congressmen so that my Fulbright condition can be waived.
Well, that still happens in this
country. Yes. So,
the waiver of
yes.
conditions.
And he got the reply to write that my job is related to US defense, which he cannot write because it was philosophy. He told me that if it were science, I would have written, to quote. So,
but if that had gone through,
we
wouldn't have had you in New Zealand.
That's right. That's right. Then what happened? I applied for jobs, and Victoria University gave me job over telegram. So I came here in 1970. And they knew me as Western scholars. So I was teaching philosophical logic.
So 53 years, huh?
Yes, 54 years ago. 4 years ago, 1970.
Yeah.
And then I was teaching Kant and ethics as well as philosophical logic and so on. And I continued my effort for review sessions. So I had review sessions in addition to the class and the tutorials.
Exactly like what you did in India.
That's right, as I did in India. And then I started reading papers in the seminar because I was aware of Western problems, so I was combining Indian thought with Western problems and suggesting some solutions to Western problems.
So what were the problems?
Problems were problems of knowledge, belief, doubt, problems of meaning, meaning of a sentence, meaning of proper names, meaning of definite descriptions. For example, the present king of France does not exist. You are claiming the present king of France does not exist, which is true. But what is it which does not exist? The present king of France. So you are postulating present king of France first at mental level or at thought level or at the level of concept, and then you are denying. So Russell was concerned with this problem very much. And Russell's...
What was it?
What is
What
it?
was it?
It, the present king of France.
So
Meinong postulated...
It is the present king of France.
That's right.
Okay.
And Meinong postulated objects called present king of France, non-existent objects. So he divided objects into existent and non-existent. What about contradictory objects? The round square does not exist. Round square is...
No, it does not exist. Or does it exist?
does not exist. So he postulated in his system round square also
Exists.
It does not have existence, but it has a being.
Why does it have a being?
Being because you were talking about it.
Or because I'm talking about it, it comes into existence.
That's right.
Where it factually does not exist.
Exist.
Oh gosh.
So I was concerned with this problem also. So the problems of knowledge in Western philosophy coming from Plato has got three properties. It is belief, it is true, and it has justification. So the problem of belief comes, the problem of truth comes, the problem of justification comes. And I tried to solve this problem also from the Indian perspective.
And how was it solved?
Solved is that they are not independent properties, three properties: belief, truth, and justification. They are, one is a qualifier of another. Truth is a qualifier of belief, and justification is the qualifier of truth. So I organized a seminar at Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture on knowledge, East and West, in 1995. And lot of scholars came from Europe, from America, and we put their articles in a book form. And I invited 4 Pandits also. 4 Pandits, they do not know English, but I presented their thoughts in English. And later on I translated their work in English, and Mission published a volume called Knowledge, East and West. And my paper was there. The problem is that Western philosophers, for example, if I say there is a man with red iron mask on his head, is it true by virtue of having a man or a person in this room, having iron mask in this room, having a red object in this room? Indian philosophers claim that justification is a qualifier of truth. That means there is a guarantee for its truth. And truth is a property of belief. So
But can I
in this room, for example, we are sitting in this room. It is knowledge. Why it is knowledge? It is not only a belief, but it is true, and there is a guarantee for its truth. What is the guarantee for its truth? I can see it.
But there are certain truths
That's
that
right.
exist that are just truth, and it's
Truth,
indisputable.
but indisputable. Why? I can see it. I am not dreaming.
But what if you can't prove it? What if you can't? I mean, for example, oxygen. You can breathe it. You know you are. Everybody knows that oxygen is the reason we are alive.
Good question.
But but Dr. Shaw, we can't see it.
That's
we can't
right.
Prove it.
Now,
Well, maybe we can prove it with
the
science.
point is this: there are scientific truths, there are perceptual truths, there are inferential truths. We can infer oxygen. There are sentential truths, that means Shabdabodha, that means testimony, testimonial truths. For example, Napoleon was defeated at the Battle of Waterloo. It is true. How do I know? Through testimony.
Somebody said so.
That's right. Somebody has seen it and he has passed it on to others. So there are conditions of testimony. Indian philosophers have discussed at length when a sentence is true and by virtue of what it is true, and they have discussed also the truth. That means the person who wrote that Napoleon was defeated at the Battle of Waterloo, he has seen it and he is not telling a lie, and he got ability to convey in English or in some other language properly. So we require certain sources of knowledge.
So the testimony.
That's testimony.
Important.
Now Indian philosophers have debated regarding sources of knowledge. It varies from 1 to 11.
Very complex, huh?
Very complex.
Very complex and very. There's no room for doubt.
That's right.
There's no room for gap. There's no
That's
shortcut
right.
to it.
That's right. And in the case of physical perception, my sense organ should be connected with the object.
And if it's not?
With the object.
But if it's not?
If it is not, then it is inference.
I see. Yes, of course.
There is a cat over there. How I infer? From the sound of cat. I cannot see, but I can infer.
But that has an element of doubt also.
That's right.
Because it's not completely foolproof.
That's right. So they have discussed how to eliminate doubt, and they have discussed their conception of doubt is very illuminating, and I have discussed that one, that doubt, every doubt rests on some certainty. I doubt whether it is a lamppost or a human being. That means there is something I cannot doubt, but I doubt whether it is it. It I do not doubt, but whether it is a lamppost or a human being, that I can doubt.
And that doubt usually comes from a sense of not having the knowledge.
That's right.
So it's not your experience.
That's right.
So because it's not your experience, when you look at something or think of something or somebody says something, because it doesn't enter your memory base,
That's right.
therefore you reject it.
That's
and
right.
that's where the doubt comes from.
That's right. That's right. So they have discussed how to eliminate doubt. So I solved one of the problems of Western philosophy, knowledge, that these three properties are interrelated properties. One is belief.
And Western philosophers don't see it as related?
Don't see that relation, because I discussed
not?
all their counter examples.
But Dr. Shaw, how can you not connect it all?
And it
It's part of the whole.
it is published in that volume published by Bloomsbury, and Bloomsbury happens to be the best publisher of UK. Twice they got, prize for being the best publisher. So it is published in that volume, and it was published in the books of Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture publication.
We will refer to the books later.
That's right.
But let's just progress, because we may be
That's
running out of
right.
time. Let's progress
Sure.
on to the other two.
Now,
We've done the first one. What's the second one?
Now, second one, belief. Russell said, nobody has solved this problem of false belief. Othello believes that Desdemona loves Cassio. But Desdemona does not love Cassio. But the fact that Othello believes is true. Othello's belief is
So both are true.
both.
Both are true.
Othello believes
Both are
that
true.
it is true,
Yeah.
but Desdemona does not love Cassio.
Yes.
So it is false. And he claimed he tried twice to solve this problem. And at the end he said, nobody has solved this problem coming from Plato, false belief, without postulating the existence of the non-existent. Naya has solved it. I discussed with my guru, and Naya has solved it because Othello is familiar with a real love. For example, Janet loves John, or John loves Janet. She is familiar with that love, and that is projected here. So, Othello believes that Desdemona loves Cassio, which is a false belief. That means the belief is false, but the content of belief is false.
But it is his belief.
But that belief that Desdemona loves Cassio is false, but he is familiar with true love, which is projected here. So, Naya claims,
Again, very complex.
yes, it is complex. I take nearly an hour to explain it, and I point out the Naya conception of relation. A relation makes one object the attribute of another, and it makes a fact also. But here, the love which he is familiar with, real love, that John loves Janet, it has both the items. One is the qualifier of another, and it has made a fact. Now, in this case, Othello believes that Desdemona loves Cassio. Here, it is only one is the qualifier of another, not real.
Not real.
Not real.
One removed.
That's right. So, relation has two factors. One factor is present and another factor is missing. That it is not making a fact. But in the real case, it has made both.
Because it's not one removed.
That's right.
Yes. Now, let's
So-
talk about the third one.
Now, Naya has solved this problem. So, I claim that it falsifies the claim of Russell. And I developed a theory of definite description following Russell and the remark of Gadadhara, this 17th or 16th century Nobunaya philosopher. And I am very grateful to my Guru that he pointed out that Russell had got some shortcomings, but we can overcome by reflecting on Gadadhara. So I have reconstructed Gadadhara's theory of definite descriptions. And regarding meaning, God exists or does not exist, I got 6 levels of meaning in my theory. One is called etymological meaning, like baker, the person who bakes. But baker was a name of a building, that is conventional meaning. Third meaning is deep structural meaning of Panini, ancient philosopher. Fourth meaning is causal meaning. At marriage ceremony, when you say, I take this woman to be my lawful wife, you cannot substitute the lady by any other expression. Same thing in mantra. In mantra, you cannot substitute one expression by any other expression. So it will not be effective. So I introduced the term.
Can I just stop you there, just to connect? So in terms of mantra chanting, there's a particular rhythm and there's a particular cyclic
That's right.
effect. And to be able to get the result of that, you have to do it in a particular way. And
That's
a particular
right.
sound and a particular rhythm.
That's right.
And if you don't do it, then you won't get the effect of it. So that's how you are
That's right.
solving this particular problem.
That's right. That means in my system, there are 6 levels of meaning. Fourth level is causal level. It has got some effect, and unless you do in that way, it will not produce the effect, intended effect. Fifth one is metaphorical meaning. He lives in the river Ganges. How can he live in the river Ganges?
It's not
It means
it's not actual.
actual, he close to the river Ganges.
But it's a loose way of saying.
Loop. Similarly, court is crying. Indian philosophers have discussed at length the conditions for metaphorical meaning, and especially Kashmiri philosophers in
Shivism.
ancient days.
The Kashmiri Shivism, right?
Yes, Kashmiri philosophers have discussed at length. They are called alankarik, ornamental, meant literary critics.
It's so complex. It really is complex. And I think that's why the baby is thrown out with the bathwater.
That's right.
Because people don't have the patience, they don't have the intellect, the intellectual patience.
That's right.
To be able to just understand it.
That's right. Similarly, cot is crying means baby in the cot is crying. Similarly, you look after the stick holder. Stick holder means those who are walking with the stick. They are old people, so you look after them. So look after the stick. That means stick holder. Yes. And then the 6th level is my level, certified by my Guru, that is suggestive level. That God exists, God does not exist, both of them are not propositions to be called true or false. They are suggestive meaning. Those who believe in God, what is God? God is truth. That means you promote truth. God is mercy. God is love. Like Vivekananda used to say, God is love. Love for yourself means love for all. Love for God means love for, Bhagavad Gita also says, love for entire creation.
So that is those two meanings that come from Vedanta, which is
That's
that
right.
You are divine, divinity is within you.
That's right.
And the sense of interconnectedness
Now,
with everything.
that's right. So what I mean when you say you are divine, do not ascribe truth value to it. You are promoting divinity. It has suggestive meaning.
But
so
is it manifestation of divinity? Or is it just
you are
divinity?
promoting divinity. Our job is to promote divinity. And when Marxists claim that matter is everything, there is no divinity, they are promoting materialistic philosophy. So, it is not true false that matter is the ultimate reality, physical reality is the ultimate reality. They are promoting physicalism. They are promoting materialism. So
is that gross? What's made of 5 elements?
That's right.
And it stops
That's right. What is made of 5 elements, you can promote like Charvaka system is there, Indian materialism.
Yes.
They promote this 5 elements. That body is made of 5 elements and consciousness is a product of body.
Yes.
That means
that's beautiful.
They are promoting material aspect.
As opposed to this.
That's right. Yeah. So thereby I tried to solve this problem which bothered me from day one when I was in the high school.
And you've done a great job.
And another one regarding...
Shaw, we have only a few minutes left.
Okay.
So what I'd like you to do is tell the listener what it is you want them to remember about this pioneering finding of yours. What is it that they need to take away? What's the takeaway in just layman's terms?
How to solve Western problems by using the tools of Indian philosophers. And regarding current conflict, deprivation, suffering, we have to use Vedantic concept, oneness. That I propose one world government so that food, water can be shared. Well. And it is my dream. There is a newspaper caption, it came out in the Times of India when there was a conference on my philosophy. There were 2 conferences on my philosophy and reporters came and caption was, "Philosopher dreams of one world."
It's a wishful thought.
That's right.
And it's a thought.
But we are progressing because I am optimist in the sense that before Germany and France, and British as well as Spanish, they were fighting with each other. All the world wars. But now European Union, they are helping each other. So before Americans were fighting with each other. 50 states, north and south, they were fighting with each other. But then 50 states, they are living together, they got a common law. And if the entire world is together in one umbrella, world government, then there will not be any necessity for nuclear weapons or any weapons. So that money can be used for developmental purposes,
so the thought
for the welfare of the people.
So the thought that comes in my head when you say that, which is a very noble thought, is that it's united we stand and divided we fall
That's right.
as a world.
That's right.
And that is the Vedantic thought.
Vedantic thought and our concept of Dharma includes it, because our duty is not only towards human beings but towards animals as well as towards the plants and nature at large.
Yes.
There
Not
is
to
a
harm.
propitiation ceremony if you cut a tree with fruits and flowers,
Yes.
because there is unbalance in nature.
Yes. So that's right. I mean, if we understand as human beings that we are made of the five elements and everything out there
That's
is made
right.
of the five elements, and if we are if the five elements are affected in us, it's affected in the other or in the other, then there is disharmony.
That's
the
right.
micro and the macroscopic way of
So
looking at the world.
I
at large.
proposed this paper on concepts of harmony, that Indian philosophy can resolve all the types of conflict.
Yes.
And ultimately, Vedantic concept can solve the problems of life and existence and current problems of war, famine, as well as deprivation.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw. To our audience, I'd like to say that with us we have a very, very fine person, a person that has contributed greatly to the society at large with his insight, his ability to be able to bring together the disharmony that usually has occurred between concepts, Indian concepts, what we call Indian, but Vedic concepts, and concepts from the Western world. And he has somehow, in his very, very articulate way, been able to marry it together and present something that is going to be there for the future generation, Dr. Shaw. Thank you for that, and thank you for all that you've contributed throughout your life.
Thanks.
For everything you've done in
Thanks.
Wellington, and I'm sure the students, your ex-students of Victoria University, are always indebted to you, because now they understand a little bit more than they ever did before.
Yes.
Because this is very hard to get, this insight is very hard to get. You are going to deliver another lecture in the Indian High Commission in Wellington on the 5th of December this year.
That's right.
At 5 p.m. to 7. And if anybody can make it, please do. And with that, namaste. Thank you very much.
Sure.